How's it going, folks? It's Lobo and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of Daredevil. And if you haven't seen my previous reaction, you can find that in the description, where I also mentioned there are 2 additional episodes that have been released today on Sunday for Daredevil reactions. So with that being said, if you're watching this reaction, you can actually find another Daredevil reaction also on my channel. This is another episode. I was just doing a 3-day release special just to make it up to you Daredevil fans in general. So we're continuing that trend with this next episode, and I'm very excited to get started, so we're just going to dive right into it. And he is a lover of art. I could just picture him being a great cook. He just seems that type, very artsy, very professional. And definitely passionate. Not about anything specific, but there's just such a drive in him that I feel like he aspires to be good at literally everything. It's like Stan Smith over here. I mean, one of those suits alone is probably worth more than everything I own. That shit's probably so expensive. His father's cufflinks. Interesting. I mean, he woke up presumably from a nightmare and he spoke about his father's death. I kind of feel like the obvious answer would be he killed his father, but I feel like that doesn't make sense. I would just feel more... I think it would more so, if I were to formulate a theory just on the spot here, it would be that his father had a line of work similar to him nowadays, and that business got him killed, and he found his father, thus being covered in blood. That's just like a little theory I have. I don't know. I'm gonna have to wait to find out. We'll see if I'm right whenever that episode dawns, if it ever dawns, the truth about his father and his backstory, because now I'm quite curious. Oh, they're definitely gonna notice the cut he has. Wonder what the excuse will be this time. He was spelunking. Or maybe it was base jumping.
In the dark. How long do you think I should grow my hair? Matt, what's your take on that?
These whoever's find out what it is you're up to.
We already took care of it.
Took care of what?
Got yourself in a pickle.
Busted up Elena's apartment.
Why? Why were you following her?
She was acting funny.
No, there was no funny.
It was a little funny.
This is what I'm talking about. There are things out there.
Karen's been working with him. He seems like a good guy.
Yeah, everybody does until they aren't.
No,
That is so true.
First rule, no more skulking around asking to get hurt. We do this, it's gonna be on our turf. Agreed?
Do we have a choice?
Not so much.
Damn, putting his dad pants on, Jesus. Setting the rules.
That the docks and your transit path be clear of police interference. Did you observe any police?
You get that last part?
Yes, threats are clear in any language.
I don't like the way he speaks to you, that's all. Especially now, when everything's going our way.
What a transition. I mean, nobody knows when to shake and when to break hands like Fisk. This is definitely flashback to like the 80s. Or the 70s. Is this gonna be young Fisk?
I like it.
That's because you got paste.
I love music, just not so loud.
What the hell good is it if you can't hear it?
Sir.
Respect. You got to give it if you want it. That's our ticket. Once you get on the city council, everybody wants to put a little something in your pocket. This city, it's everything. It's right there. All you got to do is put your mind to it and make it happen. Rigoletto flow to me.
Rigoletto? Who's that?
Nobody, forget it.
Ben mentioned him.
You got to put yourself out there.
You gotta put yourself out there, Mom.
You see? The kid is smarter than you.
Well, his backstory certainly explains a lot.
I've spent most of my time abroad in Asia.
That's why he's such a fondness for that culture. An Insomniac Spider-Man, when you visit his museum, well, his collection.
We have a situation.
Nobu,
Detective Blake, he just woke up.
take care of him.
That poses an issue. There's a detail on his floor.
What about his partner, Hoffman?
I can reach out.
Have his own partner?
Set a meeting. And I'll speak with him myself.
That's a big thing to ask of someone, even if you're a piece of shit. It's still... Kill your own evil buddy. That's quite the task.
For you and for me.
At a turn, you shot him.
Technically, we paid someone else to shoot him.
He's my friend. I've known him since I was a kid. This 30, 35 years.
How much are each of those years worth to you? In round figures.
I mean, he can't just say no. His business is ruthless. I mean, it's like poetic in a way. Other people he's probably hurt with his partner. Finally, he'll understand the pain of what it's like. I sound like a hero talking to a villain right now.
Meatball? Machi on this, he loves that place. Oh, I thought I might trigger something.
You can see he's got sweat. He's so nervous.
I'm sorry.
Imagine if he wakes up and starts screaming. Oh, what? Oh my god, they're really gonna think Matt did this.
Everything you know about Wilson Fisk.
Polyethylene, glycol, silicate, hydroclusters form with kinetic.
This guy looks familiar.
Need anything else, Mr. Fisk, sir? Not today, Mr. Potter. Thank you. Okay.
He has his own tailor. I think that guy's from Avatar. What was his name? Wainfleet?
Is it taken care of?
Yes, but there was a complication.
Well, there's a word I'm hearing more and more.
What happened when Blake was still alive?
And talking, according to Hoffman.
Oh, that's great. So we have no idea what the guy you had shot might have said to the whack job you had framed for it?
What Bernie said.
You can't listen to people like that. You have to just block them out.
You feed him too much of that shit. You want him to get fatter than he already is?
Well,
Come on, what happened?
I told him to stop, but he wouldn't. He said I was a loser. Just like my dad.
Get your coat. You wanna call me a loser to my face, you little shit?
I didn't call you a loser, man.
Oh, my boy's a liar now, huh? He say it or not? Huh? What a man tries to do, how he puts himself out there.
Man, Jesus.
Hey! I'm talking to you! It's people like this that want to keep you down. Keep you afraid. Keep kicking him! Kick him! Harder! Kick him!
So that's the dream. The conditions and the lifestyle he used to live as a child, like, it really explains his drive and his sort of ambition that he has nowadays and how he's accomplished everything. It's what fueled him.
She says she didn't come for tea.
He does not need you to form my words, do you, Wilson?
You speak English?
你也可以讲我的语言，不是吗？
你知道多久了？
聪明的男人装傻，而一个
What a
愚蠢
line.
的女人，你变得懒散、情绪化。
He looks afraid.
我承认，但是我马上
把你的房子收好。
Yeah, I've never seen him wear that face before when he was talking to her.
Sir, if there's anything I can bring...
Get out!
Think of the man you want to be. You sit here and you stare at that wall. And you think about that. You should be a king, not some fat little pussy.
It looks just like the art. Did he customly take out a bit of the wall?
My own house? In my own house?
Bill!
Shut up! Shut up!
Wesley's got him covered.
Why, you'd look at me if you knew.
You don't believe in me! Shut up!
Stop it!
Huh? That's what I thought. You believe this kid? He gets that shit from you.
Keep kicking him! Keep kicking him! Keep kicking him!
It's okay.
That's why I still wear these. To remind myself that I'm not cruel for the sake of cruelty. That I'm not my father. That I'm not a monster. They want to drag my name through the streets. They want to destroy everything that I'm trying to accomplish.
Is that Matt?
They both work for Fisk. Blake gave Fisk up before he went.
You get this on tape? Somebody else in the room corroborate what he said?
No need to put him away. Just drag him into the light. Give him nowhere to hide. Once the city knows who he is, they'll tear him apart.
This is exactly what Fisk was just talking about this. He knows this is gonna happen.
You get what you deserve. It's an old saying. Don't apply to them. That they can do anything and live happily ever after, while the rest of us suffer. He's been among us for quite some time. You've never heard his name. You've never seen his face. He's stayed in the shadows because men like him, men that want to control our city.
I love with all my heart. No one should have to live in fear.
Get the
Fear
public
of
to love
madmen.
him.
In the shadows, afraid of the light. None of us can.
Damn.
None of us should be forced to. My name is Wilson Fisk, a better place.
Oh, man, literally, just when they think they have something, there he goes, being a step ahead. It's incredible how his conversation with Vanessa about his name being dragged through the streets and trying to bring him into the light was the scene right before when it was Ben talking to Matt and they were going over, we need to bring him out of the shadows so the city can see him for who he is. And he completely put down their plan before it was even really orchestrated or carried out. He knew it was coming and he put an end to it. Damn. And this whole episode really just, this is almost like a psychological evaluation of Wilson Fisk, really stepping into his past, understanding his motivation, what drives him, and sort of putting pieces together from the previous episodes about his backstory and understanding. I don't know because, as I mentioned, there was a gap in between when I watched these, so I might have skipped over knowledge I knew, but the general idea that I formed about his father, his family, was that he came from a place of power or wealth and saw a reflection of his father. But it makes sense that it's really the opposite of that. His want and need to almost acquire everything, the power, the money, it just all tunneled through his ambition and his own point of view of making a difference. And sure, things are picked up along the way, but it's all about his sort of mission that started all those years ago. And to see the bits of his childhood to where it was his father teaching him, at first I kind of liked it because it just reminded me of a classic movie to where it's like the older style parent to where they're very hard, but then they take care of family and they try to make there's something I admire in old movies and stuff when they do have the parent, or it's like a husband and a wife, and one family member is sort of victimized, and then another family is like, come on, let's go, get your things, and then they beat the shit out of them, kind of like Goodfellas. There's something I like about that, but then this completely changed to where he was beating Fisk's mother, and that's something that I didn't expect. I knew his father was sort of a hard ass, but I didn't expect him to stoop that low. And then to see Wilson Fisk literally take the hammer and just kill him, bashing his head in over and over and over, and seeing himself in the mirror. And it's ironic because I originally said all signs point to him killing his father in the middle of this episode, and then I was like, no, it was probably that he was killed by others, but it turned out to be the former, which is insane, but it's understandable, and it's something that has quite literally haunted him as seen by his dreams. But to see him keep that, I would assume that's the very same wall. He probably paid people, hey, I'm going to take a bit of your wall, and he hung it as a reminder, just like the cufflinks that are always a permanent reminder with him, which is incredible story. And seeing his character, it makes me, it's not that I dislike his character. I mean, he's still a villain, so of course, but I have such an admiration for the way he's written because he has such a complex but believable backstory to where you can really understand his motivations. You can almost sort of have respect for him because he has such a fondness for culture and a degree of integrity and ethicality to where he is a man of his word. So it's such an amazing character because of how it's literally a cost for what he wants to do. And seeing sort of the change to where usually he gets up, makes his food after he has his nightmare, but this time after being with Vanessa, he chose to just stay in bed. So see her influence on him, and that might have been why Gao said that he's gotten a bit soft, more emotional, or sloppy. It's probably because of her. So I'm like, imagine if in the series this shit gets weird. Well, not weird, but drastic, and Vanessa dies, and then he just unleashes hell on everyone else, on the Chinese, on the Japanese. I mean, he took down the Russians, so I don't know. We'll have to wait and see on that front. But just, I'm going to end it off here because this was a fantastic episode, and I've been recording back to back. And if you don't know, this is a wooden chair, so it hurts a lot to sit in this for a long time. I'm very uncomfortable sitting in this. But just wrapping up here, another thing I love about this episode was just, it was a lot about Wilson Fisk and understanding him, which I thought was fantastic. But these flashbacks of the childhood, it's such a great parallel to Matt and his childhood, seeing how people were raised differently, how sort of there's an intertwine of their ideas. And Wilson Fisk talked about this with Matt, that it's his ideology which makes him different, and he admires his conviction even though it might differ from his own, because they're both very headstrong and they do have such a drive, and it all comes back from their childhood. So to see a connection there, but ultimately their paths diverge in there, but you can still see some characteristics and values that are similar to where they both have an idea of what they want to do and experiences that forged it, which is ultimately death and tragedy. But how they're going to carry out is where it differentiates, but there's still a meeting point, which makes them so interesting from a character standpoint, to where it's almost a relationship, not in romantic or friendly, but they definitely have a sort of connection between the two because they're on these opposing paths, but there's so much similarity, and it's so much of a reflection of themselves in a degree. So seeing that on both fronts and being able to explore his background, I thought was such a brilliant choice for this episode, and I really appreciate that. And it makes me really enjoy his character a whole lot more. As I said, it's hard because you can't really say you love a villain because that just makes you seem very monstrous, but I really like his character. I mean, I've said I liked other villains, but it's different with him because my first exposure really to him was Spider-Man the Animated Series, one in the 90s, and then of course Insomniac Spider-Man, to where he was such a lover of Japanese art, had a museum. But he still was a character in there that wanted to do something for the city, bring order, stability, even through his own means. But seeing him even fleshed out more in this, to where he has such a love of culture and art, and he's so well educated, studying abroad and amassing so much wealth, which was just influence from his lack of it as a child and wanting to be in a better place. I mean, it's something his father wanted and believed, but ultimately he didn't arrive there. It was Wilson himself that needed to take those steps. And this whole episode with his father's lessons, or kick him again, and seeing how it really just kind of it fucked with his head psychologically. When he killed his father, he was saying the words that his father told him. So this was sad. I did get a little onions are cut. It's just because it's so traumatic and it's just so scary, because even though circumstances may differ, it's such a true thing that these things can occur in ways to where it's parents having such an influence or hardship. It really just makes the person. And it was Ben Urich, I believe, in this episode that kind of really laid it out, that there are really no heroes or villains. It's just people with different agendas. And it's such a true thing. And it's just crazy how it's brought to life in this episode so splendidly. Fantastic episode. It's so hard to pick like which is the best episode, but I can't say it enough. I am very impressed with this show. Like, I'm so damn impressed by the show. I cannot praise it enough, and I know a lot of people said season 3 is perhaps the best. I've seen some people say that, so I'm like, wow. Very excited for the future, but these episodes really do not miss. And Daredevil, it's really sliding in there as becoming one of my favorite sort of like anything when it comes to like nerd fandom or whatnot. I just really love the show. I said it before, but I sometimes wish I didn't have a reaction channel just so I can binge watch the hell out of these with my headphones and watch it on not a 20-inch screen in SD. So I'm not complaining, but it's just, such a great show. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, there's another episode today on Sunday if you're watching this sort of live, so you can check that out in the next video, my next reaction. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this one. And until then, I will catch you folks in my next video.